Hey, it's Robert Clickybeard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. For the next 30 minutes, I'm inviting you to high-impact conversation with some of the most accomplished leaders and entrepreneurs in our space. This isn't fluff. It's real, battle-tested insight rooted into my book, The Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs, that will challenge you to grow as a leader, stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and scale your business the smart way. Our audience has now doubled, and I'm hearing every week how these episodes are helping business owners sharpen their edge, increase profitability, and raise the bar across the industry. So here's my ask. If this episode sparks something for you, please share it with either a teammate, fellow business owner, or a friend that needs that extra push. We're building something bigger here, and I want you to be part of it. Big news. Our digital courses are now live at wilson360.com. These are built for ambitious leaders like you, alongside training classes designed to build your team, along with the tools they need to win. I'm also thrilled to welcome our new sponsor, Bomb Data. They're transforming how commercial landscapers manage labor with intuitive analysis and help you control costs and boost margins. Check them out, and if you're ready to make data your competitive advantage. Thanks for listening, and let's keep pushing things forward.
Horticulture is a lifestyle brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strauser. Their mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Horticulture makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow pros who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Horticulture isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results.
Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Really excited today to be joined again by David Hanson. David, good to see you again.
Good to be seen, my friend, especially at my age.
You look great, Dave. And we were just talking offline here how, your last podcast with us got so many great ratings, comments, requests to hear more of Dave. So here you are.
Well, thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate the kudos from people in the industry. Those are the people who I respect the most and work to serve to be better every day.
So Dave, tell us, for the people that didn't hear you last time, tell us more about, your background in the industry. You've obviously been in the industry for a long time, but if you could summarize, maybe in a couple, 2 or 3 minutes, just your background, just so that people know who they're listening to.
Been in the industry for 56 years. Started my career in a nursery, went through a faculty position with the University of California for several years, and then the original ChemLawn Corporation, opening up the Western United States. The light bulb went on that the future of the green industry really, I thought, was landscape maintenance. As coupled with all the new construction that was going on, whether it be in Silicon Valley or all over the United States, I joined the Sperber organization in 1989, worked my way through that up until the merge in July of 2014, where I became part of the merge with the Brickman Group. And I was there for several years, managing first Southern California and then several parts of the Midwest, including Salt Lake, Denver, Chicago, Milwaukee, Twin Cities, and some other locations. So, and then it's 3.5 years ago that I rejoined the Sperber organization when Richard asked me to come and work in Hawaii. So I spent 2.5 years in Hawaii getting our maintenance business established, working with our construction division. And here I am today, and very proud of the things that we have done. I think what drives me, my spike, if you will, is operational excellence, doing the best quality work in the industry, and developing people. I think the legacy of a good leader, right, are the people that follow you in their roles and responsibilities and become leaders of the industry. And so I'm very proud of a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years who have ascended into those great positions of leadership and are now doing what I used to do. Very, very proud of that.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to, whether it be past employees, whether it be people you mentored. I just love using that term, growing, and I think that was going to be one of our topics today, just talking about growing. Dave, correct?
Yeah, topic for today's conversation podcast is how's it growing? And I'm using that term instead of how's it going because how a business is growing is a key performance indicator of business health. And I think that if you're growing successfully in the right way, it's going well. And I think that there are a number of companies over the years now who have become, part of the top 100 have shown tremendous growth over the years. And so I thought we'd talk today about what it takes to grow, how people grow successfully. I think the most important thing for me, right, is the exciting part of growth. When you land a piece of business, everybody in the branch gets excited, especially if it's some notable piece of business.
Right.
It provides great opportunities for growth, career challenges for up and comers, and challenges the branch to move sometimes into new areas. But it's exciting and it helps with everybody's career path. It helps you produce economies of scale, especially if you're not growing your overhead at the same rate that you're growing your business, your revenues. Sometimes you go from a 3-person crew to a 4-person crew, a 4-person crew to a 5-person crew. You don't have to buy any more equipment. Suddenly your capital intensity goes way up. The use of your equipment, the use of your trailers, the use of your trucks by taking on additional businesses, just adding people.
Hey, David, just a quick question on that. When you're adding on a big piece of business, what in your experience, I suppose it depends on the company you're with, but is there any that you favor more than others? Whether it's a, huge HOA, whether it's a large retail center, whether it's some type of a campus of a big corporation. Is there any that you've seen that maybe get more people excited than others?
First, I believe there are 3 basic platforms of growth. One is growing by geography. So if you take your business location and just draw a circle around 10 or 15 miles out, that usually gives you a good geographic footprint of maybe some decent targets because we don't get paid for travel time. And in our business, especially the route work is quite complicated and becomes less profitable with travel time. The second element or the second pillar of growth would be portfolios. So whether it be a Cushman Wakefield or a CB Richard Ellis or some other healthcare organization that has a number of locations, that's another way of doing it. And you have to be careful about where some of those jobs are, and some of them may not exactly mesh with your business model, but it's certainly the second pillar. The third pillar, as you said, Robert, is a campus type job or what we call a grounds maintenance job where the same people go pretty much every day. There's no, other than getting to and from the site, there's no real travel time involved. I call those the 5-pound trout in a bathtub. Everybody can see them. Everybody wants it. Sometimes companies are willing to lower their price significantly to get them, but certainly campus type properties are very attractive to people. Large homeowner associations provide the same type of opportunity. Of course, they carry with them their own weight of servicing however many homes you are. That's how many customers you have. You think you just serve the property manager and ownership, but really you service a number of homes. So you have to be careful with that, especially if you do take it at a lower price of what you're getting into, because sometimes there are night meetings involved. Obviously, our people like to go home. So kind of group them in those 3 buckets.
Right.
And I think some companies specialize in only one bucket. Some companies just specialize in homeowner associations. But I'd like to suggest that the more you diversify your business, probably the stronger you are because you learn different elements, whether it be the hotel and resort business, restaurant business, retail, campus, homeowner associations, or whatever.
Would it be fair in also saying that if you have a decent mix of work, then more likely you're going to be more attractive to some type of buyer?
I would think so. It shows the depth of your experience in different elements of the business. It also, I think, insulates you from certain changes in the economy. And a lot of people think that when you have dips in the economy, homeowner associations, well, people still have to pay their dues and so on. However, we've experienced in the last, 6 or 8 months, I've heard about a lot of places, homeowner associations, where members are not paying their dues. They can't afford them. So I don't think that's an absolute, but I do think it's a great way to insulate yourself. Retail has changed significantly over the years because of electronic buying today, but I still think there are great opportunities in the retail sector. I still think there are great opportunities in many different kinds of commercial businesses, especially portfolio businesses for people who are looking at how they can diversify their base.
That's fair. Good comments.
But I think the most important element, Robert, is to have a plan. Have a sales plan. Do you draw that circle around your geographical area? Do you know what jobs are next to the jobs you already do? Do you know who's doing them and where their competitive edge stands? When you go to a pre-bid meeting, do you assess the people who show up and they're bidding? Are they the same class of work and quality of work and relationship built business that you are, or something different? Something where well, my number's probably not going to be very good because there are a number of people here that are that specialize in low bid work. So I think you have to have a plan. You have to know who your major competitors are in your space, and I think you need to assess that every time you look at a job and qualify them, because if you really want to do banks, well, then and that's your specialty, there's no problem with that as long as you set yourself up to do it successfully. If you want to do campus work, as long as you set yourself up to do it successfully. But diversification, I think, it makes a business very attractive because it means that they've had to sort of work with all the different market segments that exist today.
I think one of the things I've seen more and more, and it really surprises me, is, when you talk about a plan, I ask companies when I go in and see them that, hey, can you show me a map of all your different properties just so that you can actually visually see where they sit and look for the gaps? And then they'll say, hey, can you give me a report on maybe all your retail centers or maybe all your HOAs, just to get reports on how they're doing in terms of gross margin or profitability? And often I get that blank look as if that information's not available. And it just surprises me if you're trying to develop a plan for growth, that information you should know so that you could really strategize on either filling the gaps or maybe making more geographic areas more profitable. But just to have all that data on hand allows you to make better decisions.
Yeah, I think being strategic about where you want to pick up work and where you have gaps with your crew, where you could go to a third or a fourth person or a fifth person, in what geographical area, is it a job that's next door to a job that you already do? So you have great referenceability. I think those things are all important elements to consider. Who's doing the selling too? A lot of times it may be the owner. Other times it might be a business development professional, but that they know, if you have a business developer, do they know where you want to sell work and what work you want to sell? Are you waiting for the phone to ring? Or are you going out and making things happen? We have another term in our business when it comes to growth called cherry picking. And cherry picking means you get a call from way outside your normal service area. Somebody says, you've had a relationship with for years or something like that. And you say, I want you to do my work. And it's, 40 miles out.
Right.
It's easy for you to say, well, in the name of growth, I'm going to take this piece of business. Just remember, you're adopting a Fort Apache, what could be a Fort Apache, the Bronx, way out in the middle of nowhere, that takes additional resource. Every time there's a problem, somebody has to drive out there. It could actually create issues with your other work. And so I think cherry picking is something you have to be very disciplined about. Is it in an area you want to move into and someday set up a satellite, as if the business that you're looking at is of significant size? But all these questions, I think, need to be answered in advance, because qualifying the work, I think, is a key part of the decision-making process in determining, is this where we want to go, the right client, et cetera.
To be successful, this probably better than most, that to be successful, you really have to have a good partnership. And if you're doing those decision making in silos without involving operations in terms of, how they're going to staff it, and at least keep them involved, I've always found that being a fairly successful recipe.
I think the greatest opportunity to share that information is the branch operations meeting, or whatever you want to call it, the branch meetings. What is your, is it weekly? Is it twice a month? Whatever that is, whatever the cadence is, everybody should be there. Your office should be there. If you have enhancements or tree care or irrigation, somebody representing that should be there. Obviously, leadership should be there. And the sales side of the equation should be there, because these are conversations that need to take place. We used to always ask our account management team, bring in a couple of leads of jobs that are right next door to you. Well, if that element is not there, or if the business developer is not at that meeting, how do you share that intel? How do you actually work on refining that plan? Because if you have a disciplined plan, what you should be saying is, how are we doing on coming after this job? How are we doing on this job? How are we doing on this job? When is this job going out to bid? I believe it is the successful ones are very disciplined. On the other hand, the owner operators make those decisions, a lot of those decisions on their own, because they already know. But I still think it's worth sharing.
Cool. What other growth ideas do you have?
The 800-pound gorilla in the room, Robert, is how you estimate your work. I think that history says that if there's a business development professional involved, they want the price as low as it can go. And if there's an operational person, an account manager involved, they want more hours. And so how do you create that balance? And estimating work is really, it's not just a science, it's an art. When you have terrain like we have, obstacles like we have, client expectations like we have, you have to weave all of those things together in an estimate. And you have to really talk about in your proposal, how are you going to solve their problems? If you give them a 30-page proposal that talks about how great your company is, are you really helping them solve their problems? What have you seen on their job? How are you going to sequence the work so that it makes most sense to them? Obviously, if it's a homeowner association and you're going to run power equipment, you better not be there at 6 a.m. running power equipment. If it's a retail center, they want you in early and they want you out when the retail center opens up. If it's a hotel, probably needs to be serviced between 10 and 4. You have to take all these things into consideration in your estimate because you can't do everybody's job on a Friday. And how you formulate the frequencies into actual numbers, cost numbers. And I think if I said this in the operational excellence piece, you got to know your cost. If you don't know your cost, you really don't know anything on the estimating side. But then how do you turn that estimate into a problem-solving presentation for the customer, where it really says, here's what we're going to do for you. Here's the things we've seen. Here's what you've said, what you like, what you don't like, and here's how we're going to attack your job.
I agree 100%. I talk about finding out what the customer's pain points are. Because, basic things, grass cutting, trimming shrubs, tree trimming, and all that should be almost like a given, but it's really listening to your client and finding out their pain points and addressing those pain points in your proposal and your presentation.
Absolutely. It's got to be about how you're going to make their life easier. Their phones usually don't ring with somebody telling them how good their landscape looks. The less their phone rings, the better they like it, because they don't really have time to address a lot of these issues. Our job is to do our job so they don't have to do our job for us.
The listeners should really be taking great notes on this point right here. Just, listen to your customers, find out their pain points. How can we make their lives easier? Because, they're with, rising costs. I mean, I think a lot of these property managers are probably getting more properties put on their plate.
Yep.
They just don't have time to go around and be able to look at them all. So if you could be that extra set of eyes and ears for them.
Yeah. And once you get on somebody's property, if you do fulfill their wishes, you build trust. Trust leads you to other opportunities because the word does travel fast in our industry. As we say, good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. And so if you build great trust with your customers, the likelihood of them referring you to other potential customers is really good. As well as if you don't do the job, obviously the other answer follows.
Yeah, that's so true. Any other great growth strategies, Dave, that feels is worthwhile sharing?
The one thing you want to avoid is growing too fast. There are companies that just grow. I think you have to grow and digest and grow and digest. In the first place, if you continue to grow too fast, you may outgrow the capabilities of your team. It takes time to get used to new job sites. And I think digesting in between taking on work, especially larger work, is really an important factor in the growth equation because number one element in net growth is retention. You don't want to lose work. So first of all, you got to focus on keeping all the work you have before you start adding work. And if you start adding work too fast, you're liable to create more problems for yourself. Digest and then move on.
Going back to point you made a minute ago, there's obviously a lot of technology now that's used to capture measurements. And there's so many companies out there that offer that service. But as you're looking at production rates, machinery technology is also changing as well. What's your thoughts around how often should that be reviewed in terms of either the tools you use to measure, but also the products, production rates and increasingly faster machinery used for robotic mowers? Any thoughts around that?
As technology changes, I think you need to look at things like that. Let's just say a gas powered blower versus a battery powered blower. You may not get the same velocity, and it may take you longer with a battery-powered blower than it does with a gas-powered blower. When stand-on mowers were introduced, we found that we could save almost 20% of our mow time by using stand-on mowers. But you don't do that stuff without testing it against the standard. So if you're using, let's just say, walk-behind 48-inch mowers, bring a stand-on 48-inch mower to the same site, same area, and get your data correct. Also, if you're using a stick edger versus a line trimmer to do edging, these variables need to be constantly checked. I'm not saying you have to do it every year, but every once in a while, as the technology changes or the machinery changes, even let's talk about autonomous mowers. As the technology improves with autonomous mowers, production rates are probably going to increase based on the recognition lines and so on and so forth, and getting to a larger scale. We've seen that with irrigation, right? All kinds of productivity gains over the years because of improvements in technology. So it is something that you need to measure. We used to put pigtails on all our controllers so we could run through we could get stations done right away if our controllers weren't wired in sequence, so I could go from one station to the next station to the next station. We sort of did that on our own because it made our life easier. Same thing goes true for all the elements of estimation. You just need to be constantly checking them as the technology improves, and we get even better now with the aerial pictures, measuring square footages. Sometimes you can see through trees, sometimes you can't. But normally you can see around all buildings, you can see property lines, and get usually the bulk of the measurements and try to separate turf from shrubs and trees and so on and so forth, which will help you.
Dave, we've run out of time here. I could talk to you for hours. We just need to get you on back maybe once a quarter just to sort of go through all your knowledge. What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to hear more from you, they want to get in contact with you, just pick your brain a little bit? What's the best way?
I do continue to work for the Sperber organization. My phone number, I can send you my contact information after the call, Robert, and we can post that up.
Awesome. Dave, it's always a pleasure listening to you, hearing your knowledge. Really appreciate everything you do for the industry and sharing everything. So thank you again for seeing you, Dave.
My pleasure. I wish a safe and successful journey for everyone who's listening.
Cool. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Cheers. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I hope you're walking away with one powerful insight you can apply immediately, whether it's in your leadership function, your operations, or how you show up every day with that Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional moves, bold conversations, and surrounding yourself with the right voices. That's what this podcast is all about. If you found value today, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with someone in your circle who's ready to raise their game. And don't forget, our Wilson 360 digital courses are now live and ready to go. So go to wilson360.com, explore the tools that are helping hundreds of contractors to level up across leadership, account management, and operations and more. And a huge shout out again to Bomb Data, our newest sponsor, helping landscapers make smarter decisions with real-time labor analytics. If you're serious about margins, they should be on your radar. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and keep leading with purpose. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.